Good day, happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of Sports Paradise. I'm Dub, short for Big Dub, and remember, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. So always look within. Whenever you have trouble, just look within yourself and try to overcome it. You can do it. So, I hope everyone had a good weekend. And today, we're going to talk about Chelsea's game. We're going to talk about the Premier League title race. We're going to talk about the current state of the NHL and the NBA playoffs. We'll chat a bit about the Blue Jays weekend and update the current standings of the Rome Open. And it's also race week. This week, Formula One is going to be in Italy at the classic track of Imola. So let's get to it. So where do I start with Chelsea? Oh my God. Well, for once I'm saying this as a positive way. Where do I start? Usually it's like, where do I start? They just didn't look good. Well, and I say usually, but the last few weeks, it's not been like that, you know? But for a long time, it has been. Oh, where do I start? They don't look good at all. Didn't create any chances. They're always missing their chances. They're just not doing what they got to do to win. They're just slacking off. But this time, where do I start? In a positive way. Like lately, Chelsea has been on a hot streak, a heat check. Like similar to what we see Arsenal and Man City doing. Just their form as of late in the Premier League website is just, well, they lost. They got beat bad by Arsenal, okay, and they tied. So it's like red, gray for tie, then green, green, green. 3 straight wins and 3 straight great wins too. And that tie, you know, they could have even won that against Aston Villa when they drew Aston Villa. So Chelsea's just been in perfect form. Everyone, like not even just Cole Palmer, is getting involved. Like everyone is just doing what they're supposed to do, just doing what they should have been doing, I guess, all season. But hey, since around Boxing Day, since January 1st this year, you know, Chelsea would have been top 4 in the Premier League standing. So this is going well. I'm looking forward to next season. So the last game Chelsea won, they were at home, Stamford Bridge against West Ham, and we all know they won that game 5-0. But this game was against Nottingham Forest, and this game was going to be a bit tougher because Chelsea was on the road, and Nottingham Forest pretty much avoided relegation because Luton Town lost their matchup, and now it's going to take a miracle for Nottingham to pretty much avoid being relegated or to get relegated. But going into the game, the commentators were saying all Nottingham Forest needs is 1 point, Luton Town to officially be in, because Luton Town could still, even though Luton Town lost, they could still get in by a crazy goal differential. They had to score at least 8 goals, Nottingham Forest are going to have to allow like 6 goals in order for Luton to be in if they didn't win that, in order for Nottingham Forest to be in if Chelsea beat them. But if Nottingham Forest managed to tie Chelsea in their game, then they'd be in automatically because they'd be up 4 points with only 1 game to go. So Nottingham's fans, they were going crazy. They're excited. It was like a party atmosphere at I think their home stadium is called the City Grounds. So it was an amazing atmosphere there, I have to admit. But we all wanted, Chelsea fans, we're the pride of London, The jersey back there, it says the pride of London on the tag. So we're not going to go in and just let Nottingham Forest beat us. We're not going to come out with just a tie. We're going to try to win that game. because the main thing to remember is that Nottingham Forest are fighting to stay alive in the Premier League. That means they're at the bottom of the table practically, the fourth worst team in the Premier League. Chelsea is fighting to play in Europe next season. So no matter what, Chelsea going into that game, we're still the favorites. So the match began, and Chelsea, I'm sure they're really feeling the heat. The crowd was like buzzing, totally electric, jumping up and down. They weren't being quiet. They were singing, the entire game, but they're singing as loud as possible for the opening 5-10 minutes of the game. Chelsea, their build up, it didn't look like they didn't look like we were used to seeing for the past couple of days or past few games they've played. But that was at home. They had the crowd on their side, and they managed to dominate teams who are even better than Nottingham Forest. But even though they weren't looking that great, before 9 minutes are up, Cole Palmer was playing the 10 spot because Mudryk and Madueke were on the wing, so he was just roaming around, middle field area. He can go wherever he wants pretty much. He's Cole Palmer, best player in the team, best player in the Premier League. If Chelsea gets in the Champions League pretty soon, not next year, but the year after that, they'll be back in the Champions League. Hopefully, Cole Palmer is going to prove he's the best player in the world. But anyways, he had the ball just above. They were in Nottingham's half, and he had the ball a bit past the halfway mark. Perfectly timed run by Mudryk, perfectly weighted pass. And when I say perfectly weighted, it was probably like a 25-30 yard pass straight to Mudryk's foot. And sometimes Mudryk, his first touch is quite heavy. It'll bounce off his foot and go he would give it away. He'd have to chase it and not be comfortable with the ball after. But this time, the pass was just perfectly weighted. It wasn't too hard that Mudryk, he had no choice but to perfectly corral it. A few steps later, struck back of the net, 1-0, and Chelsea wasn't even playing that well. But this is what we've been used to seeing Chelsea do. They've just been carving up opponents' defenses, for the past month or so. Since that loss against Arsenal 5-0, and since they went down 2-0 at Aston Villa, they've just been carving up defenses, no matter who. Whether it's Caicedo making passes, Cole Palmer making passes, Chalobah making passes, the entire team making passes. They've been doing it, and they've been finishing their chances. So, even though they weren't playing the best, it just takes one chance, which they converted. But one thing Chelsea has to work on in this offseason is set-piece defense, because shortly after they went up 1-0, Nottingham Forest had a free kick, and it wasn't in a great spot, but it was in a pretty good spot. A good spot where they could angle it and be able to get a nice clean header and get it past Petrovic, and that's what happened. The free kick was a nice placement, and Nottingham Forest player headed it in the back of the net. So that was a kind of a disappointing goal for Chelsea to give up. But like I said, Nottingham Forest was at home. They had a lot of things going for them. They were very motivated that game. They're bound to get a goal. They're bound to get a goal or two in this game. So going into halftime, the game was tied 1-1, and it seemed like they would have to make some changes, and because it felt like the build-up was slow. Mudryk, he scored, but he wasn't creating that many chances. Madueke wasn't getting the chances that he would usually get. Jackson here and there, missing some opportunities. He's running with the ball, but he's not making a final good decision when he could pass it off or take a shot maybe, or just slow it down. But he's just running into the defense and not being able to get by, creating turnovers. Just seemed like things had to change. So after halftime, Poch, he didn't really waste that much time making these changes. He needed some different momentum going, and before long, he brought on Malo Gusto back from injury and Christopher Nkunku back from injury, taking off Benoit Badiashile, taking off Madueke. And then he brought on Sterling. And you can tell the pace was starting to change a bit. Chelsea was actually creating some chances. They were in the box. They were in the opponent's box more often. They were having a good amount of possession, but they just couldn't find that finishing touch. And because they're in the box of Nottingham Forest, all pressed up, it allowed a good counter-attack from Nottingham Forest player Hudson-Odoi. And his first opportunity, he was running with the ball. He brought it to the inside, and he just clipped it over the net. Minutes later, similar situation. Chelsea, they had the ball, controlling it, but then the giveaway, and Nottingham Forest is bringing it down. A nice pass to Hudson-Odoi on the counter, and this time he brought it in to the inside, and he's like, okay, I know my mistake from a couple minutes ago, so this time I have to do this. He shot it, and he curved it in, placed it right past the arms of the outstretched Petrovic. At that point, it was 2-1 for Nottingham Forest. Commentators saying this is all they need for sure. Like, even if they give up one goal, it's still gonna be the 1 point they need, let alone just these 3 points they're about to get. And it was the 74th minute, it was the 74th minute. And it was 2-1. The crowd was going crazy. They thought it was, game over with 13 minutes to go. Hudson-Odoi and the guy who passed him the ball were like this, like pointing at their head like, it's all mental, it's all mental. We're about to win this game. But I don't know though. The way Chelsea's been playing, the way they've been, controlling the ball in this game, the way they have the motivation to not lose these days, I just felt like they would at least tie it up. I mean, of course I'm biased, but I didn't want Nottingham Forest fans to go home happy. I didn't want Chelsea to be the butt of the joke, like Nottingham Forest avoided relegation 100% by beating Chelsea. So I was hoping, praying that Chelsea will come back and at least tie, maybe even win. Pochettino, everyone calling for his head, but as of late, not so much though. He brought on the last substitute, Reece James. Been out for 5 months due to a hamstring injury. Not really been that fit these past couple of seasons. So Gallagher passed the ball, Gallagher passed the captain's armband to Reece James, and he took the pitch. I've only been watching Chelsea for around 2 seasons now, but of course I'm becoming a diehard fan. After every game, I'm becoming more and more of a diehard Chelsea fan. So I haven't really seen Reece James play that much. All the fans were saying, Reece James, the best RB in the world. He's coming back. If we had him, we'd be doing so much better. He's the best RB in the world. The best RB in England, He's just the best. But when I've seen him play, when he came back briefly, he got hurt again. He seems to be very injury prone. And one game I saw, he was they're getting blown out by Newcastle, and Reece James was kind of losing his temper a bit. He wasn't being a solid leader like a captain should be. And also, Malo Gusto was doing a great job in the position that Reece James plays, right back. Nonetheless, Reece James came on, immediate impact. Got the captain's armband on his arm, immediate impact. So, Around like 5 minutes, maybe like 6 minutes after going down 2-1, Sterling came on and tied the game. Sterling, I believe, is a good person to bring on as a sub, not to start, but he can come on as a sub and do work down the wing. He came on and was playing in Mudrik's position, and he scored a game-tying goal. Pretty much the same sort of goal that the Nottingham Forest player scored, Hudson-Odoi. Just curved it in right by the goalie, 2-2. But here's where Reece James come in. So, Caicedo had the ball. Reece James already made the run down the pitch on the right side. Passed the ball onside, and then perfectly placed to Reece James. First touch, didn't even take 2 touches. Like, he got the ball, he caught up to it, bam, crossed it right over the heads of the Nottingham Forest players. Only spot where it could be headed in. And who's going to be at the end of that? Nico Jackson. Boom. One of the best finishes you'll see by Nico. Like, oh my God, what an ending. 3-2 Chelsea. And now the game was over. And the celebrations were absolutely insane. Like, Reece James to come on and make an impact like that in like 2 minutes, less than 3 minutes. Just incredible. I had to put a tweet out there saying, "Is this the Reece James that I've heard so much about?" Because, like I said, I've only seen him play a handful of times, and like I said, I wasn't that impressed. But if he's doing this, just please stay healthy next season. Just please stay healthy. And that was it. 3-2, game over. 3 points. Chelsea is, they're trying to get to play in the Europa League next season. Let's see. So in that celebration, Nico Jackson, he hopped over the barriers and celebrated with the fans, and I think that got him a yellow card. So I think he might be, suspended for the last match or the last 2 matches. I'm not sure. That could be pretty dangerous because he's one of, the best. Because while Nico Jackson he has around 15 goals this season, and he could have 30. Real talk, he could have at least 25, 30 goals. But that's because he always gets in the right position to score. He may miss the chances, but he's working hard. He's getting in the right spot to score. He just hasn't finished them off. So once he does, watch out. He's going to get 25 goals, maybe next season even if they don't get a striker to replace him. But it could be dangerous because if he misses out on these last couple of games, who's going to take his spot as the striker? Nkuku, coming back, he's probably not going to be 100% healthy. But we're going to have to find a way to win those last 2 games without Nico Jackson. So, first thing is that Pochettino has to stay. He has to stay. He has to stay, and he has to find a way to incorporate Enzo in his plans to make the team successful, because it just makes me uncomfortable that they're having so much success without Enzo on the pitch. Could he come in as a substitute? Could he be a starter beside Caicedo? Because it seems honestly like they're going to get rid of Conor Gallagher, which I hope they don't, of course. But it seems like that's where things are trending towards. And he's like pretty much the heart and soul of Chelsea this season without Reece James. He's been the captain. He stood up, stepped up every game, just hustles, gets timely goals, good assists. And I have no issues with Conor Gallagher. It seems like with Conor Gallagher, Chelsea is going to become a team like Man City, where they have just studs starting and studs coming off the bench who could just change the game just like that. Like, imagine you keep Conor Gallagher, you have Caicedo, 2 midfielders right there, and lately they've been playing with 2 midfielders, and you can have Lavia coming off the bench, you have Enzo coming off the bench, Chukwuemeka, like they have, like, the guy's first name is Leslie, but I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, starts with a U, coming off the bench. All these guys have been injured. You have practically two number 10s, Nkuku and Cole Palmer, even though Cole Palmer is more comfortable on the right side. But imagine the link up between Cole Palmer and Reece James. You've already seen the link up between Cole Palmer and Malo Gusto on the right side. But now with Reece James, elite right side. Cucurella on the left side, left back. He's been doing great, creeping up in the midfield, creating some good opportunities. But they need another left wing, I believe, to work with Cucurella, because I don't think Mudryk is really that great. He's good, but I don't know if he's like the right side of Gusto or Reece James, Cole Palmer is not as good as Cucurella and Mudryk, and it has to be. But down the middle with Nkuku or Nico Jackson, and then either Cole Palmer, and we get another right wing. Like if Madueke is playing the right wing, we'll see what happens. But they gotta find just everyone to play their comfortable position, and I believe that's Nico Jackson as striker, Cole Palmer right wing, Nkuku down at the 10 spot in the middle, where Gallagher sometimes plays. Then you have Reece James right back. Then you have Caicedo or Enzo or Gallagher as two of the midfielders, and they just need someone to be a center back. I think Chalobah is great, but they need one other guy, because I don't know about Badiashile. I don't know about Desasi. They need a someone who can replace Thiago Silva in the center back position to play beside Chalobah, who's incredible. I have no problems with Trevor Chalobah. He's incredible at his position, and he's just getting more and more experienced. So I don't know who's available. I don't know what they'll do. It just seems like one player who's going to be missing is Conor Gallagher, because they're going to try to sell him and use the money to buy someone else. But I think they should just trust in Nico Jackson and use the money on a nice left winger. Let Mudryk come off the bench, Sterling off the bench. That'd be good enough. So Chelsea's next game is going to be on the road against Brighton, and that's going to be another tough game. And like I said, they could be without Nico Jackson. So we'll see how they do. It's a must-win game if they want to, better their chances of getting into Europe. They can, finish top 5. You never know, because Tottenham is going to be facing Man City, and that could be, a loss for them. If Chelsea beats Brighton, they're going to have 60 points, only down 3 points to Tottenham, and we'll see if Tottenham loses their last game of the season, and if Chelsea wins their last game, they're going to be both at 63 points, and maybe Chelsea would be in top 5. But top 6 is definitely possible for Chelsea. So in other Premier League news, at the end of this week, at the end of Sunday, yesterday, Arsenal is still 1 point above Man City. So both teams won over the weekend, and the race is coming down to the last game. And honestly, that reminds me of Max versus Lewis in 2021, how that came down to the legit last lap of the season, when Max, he won in, kind of a suspect way, but it was just that exciting. For the entire season, it was back and forth. It would have came down to the last race anyways, and that's what we love to see in sports, just tightness. Game 7s, last game of the season, etc. And it's going to come down to that. Seems like. So, on Saturday, Man City played the first game, and, they were playing against Fulham, and that was a 4-0 win. Quite easy. So they were up by Arsenal for a bit, and the pressure was going to be on Arsenal to go to Old Trafford and beat Man U to get back ahead. And watching that game, I noticed that playing at Old Trafford is very tough any team, and there's a lot of pressure on Arsenal because if they want to win the Premier League, they're gonna have to win that game at Old Trafford, where they haven't had much success lately, historically, and you know the crowd at Old Trafford, Man United's home crowd, they were on their feet. Despite Man United's terrible season, they just haven't looked good in any consistently all season long. Despite that, it's good to see the crowd still cheering for them, still on their feet, still screaming at every chance they get. And that's just football. That's football passion right there. Man United, one of the the most popular team in the world, so their fans they just want to see quality football. They want to see some effort. They want to see consistency, which they haven't got, but they're still behind their team 100%. So going into that game, Arsenal, it felt like they were kind of nervous, but they managed to score a goal. Kai Havertz passed to Trossard, and it was kind of an easy goal to allow by Man United, if we're being honest. It was just a simple pass one time in. Could have been better defended, and you never know, could have stayed 0-0, which would have been a good result for Man United. 0-0, and you never know, they could have tied it, they could have won it. But once Arsenal goes up 1-0, it's just hard to get a goal back. But Man United did have their chances. Arsenal did have more chances to score, but Onana made great saves. But they just couldn't capitalize, Man United. So Arsenal won that game 1-0 on Sunday, and they went back above Man City in the title race. So as it stands, Man City has 85 points, Arsenal has 86. With one game to go for Arsenal and 2 for Man City. I didn't want Man U to win because, like I said, Chelsea is trying to stay ahead of them in the race. They both have, I think Chelsea now has 3 more points than Man U. So Chelsea just trying to stay ahead of Man United, and I'd rather City just win out and win like that at this point. But I mean, Arsenal can lose the last game because I just wanted Man U to lose. So we'll see what happens. So Manchester City's game in hand is going to be played tomorrow against Tottenham at Hotspur Stadium. And this is going to be, one of the biggest games in the Premier League history, I'm sure. I haven't been watching Premier League for that long, but I can't think of any. They've said that there's hardly been any title race that's gone down to the wire like this. Tottenham has been a good team all season, inconsistent, but they're in a top 5 spot. They've been just inconsistent this season. So they're a good team, and they should put up a good fight against Man City. So this is going to be one of the better games, especially Man City being on the road. It's going to be probably one of the craziest atmospheres you're going to hear all season long. It's going to be probably one of the most watched games of the season, and the most watched game in the history of Premier League. Maybe, I don't know, but it's going to be exciting for sure. I want Man City to win the Premier League. I don't want Arsenal fans to be happy. I'm new to watching Premier League, but I'm learning fast about rivalries with Chelsea and whatnot. So that's just what I'm saying. And we'll see what happens. Man City's gonna be having a lot of motivation to win. Their team is just full of the best players in the world. So you'd think that Man City could win that game. Arsenal's last game was against Everton. Everton sometimes shows up, sometimes they don't show up. They lost 6-0 to Chelsea, and then they came back and won their next game. Arsenal beat Chelsea, pretty handily. So they're saying if Chelsea beat Everton 6-0 and Arsenal beat Chelsea 5-0, what's the score gonna be for Arsenal versus Everton? Like 11, 11-0. But Arsenal, I mean Everton is a decent team at least. They're a decent team, so we'll see how that game goes. So, considering if Man City wins the game, they have a chance to win the Premier League on the last game of the season against West Ham, and they're gonna be at home for that game. So that like, talk about a storybook ending, winning the Premier League title on the last day in front of your home crowd at the Etihad. That's gonna be something special to see. And honestly, I hope it happens. If it's not gonna be Chelsea, just let it be. Just keep it the same. Just keep it the same. Man City can win 4 straight Premier League titles. It's okay. It's okay. So, like I said, I'm just very happy that I started watching football. I wouldn't be experiencing this, North American sports kind of boring, but football is quite exciting as far as sports go. I just didn't understand it. That's the problem. I didn't understand football, and I didn't understand how the leagues work. Didn't understand Champions League, Premier League, all the leagues, And I took the time after the World Cup to understand it, and now I'm just becoming more and more passionate by the day. Okay. So in other news, in the NHL, there have been a lot of exciting games in these playoffs. I've been trying to watch all the games, but like the Western Conference games just go on too late. Like it started at 10 o'clock, like 9:30. I'm like already, going to sleep by the end of the first period. But the Rangers and the Hurricane series in the Eastern Conference has been great. Even though the Rangers are up 3-1, each game has been very close. The Canes have blown leads when they should have kept them. Rangers win in overtime a couple of times, or one time. Or they won in double overtime, and they won in like regular overtime. So it's been a tight series, even though it's 3-1, and the Canes could have got swept, but they managed to stay alive with a late power play goal in Game 4. They went up 3-1. Rangers made it 3-3, and then like with 4 minutes to go in regulation, Game 4, there was a power play for the Hurricanes, and they scored after like 20 seconds. So good for them for making it 3-1. Didn't want to get swept, but trust me, I was gonna roast Carolina because everyone's saying, "Oh, Capitals shouldn't be in the playoffs. Look at how they got swept." But hey, so the Hurricanes would have got swept too, right? But of course, like I said, this was a much closer series. It could have gone either way when the Rangers really dominated the Capitals. So I'm just being petty. Both teams in that series have created great chances. The Stars are out, like it's a high scoring series for sure. And the goaltending, it's not like the goaltending, Anderson or Kocheskov on Carolina or Shesterkin has been bad for the Rangers. It's just that the teams are so fast, so skilled, you can just score a lot of goals, and it's been like that. That's good. In the other Eastern Conference series, the Panthers are up 3-1 against the Boston Bruins. After Boston won Game 1, Florida has won 3 straight. Florida, they won Game 2 like 6-1. They won Game 3 like 5-2, and then they won yesterday 3-2. So they're kind of dominating the Boston Bruins, which, I don't really like Florida. I don't like Boston either, but like I said, I don't want Florida to be happy. But there was some controversy in that game. You might have seen it. So Florida Panthers player Sam Bennett cross-checked Boston Bruins player Charlie Coyle into their goalie Jeremy Swayman, into Boston's goalie Jeremy Swayman. So he cross-checked him, and Charlie Coyle hit his own goalie and caused, major distractions. The goalie, Swayman, couldn't move to save the puck, and Sam Bennett tapped it home into the empty net. It was a review, and they still allowed the goal to stand. which I'm not really sure why, because it was a clear interference. Like, it was the Boston player got hit into his own goalie and prevented the goalie from making the save. I don't know what it was, but I feel like that goal shouldn't have counted. Florida dominated that game. Second and third period, Florida dominated. Florida's been dominating the series, seems like, since game one. And so you don't know how the game would have unfolded. Maybe Florida would have still won. Maybe Boston would have won. But that goal that shouldn't have been counted, allowed Florida to tie up the game at 2. So we'll see what happens in the next game. Boston's down 3-1. And let's see if they can turn the tables on Florida. So in the Western Conference, Dallas is up 2-1 against Colorado Avalanche. That's been a back and forth series, and I think that'll go 7. I feel like Colorado has a lot of superstars on their team, and they can manage to tie the series at 2, and keep going back and forth from there. I guess I hope Colorado wins. That's why I'm saying this, but I want to see a game 7 regardless. And another back and forth series. The Oilers lost last night to the Canucks 4-3, and now they're down 2-1. And similar to the Stars and the Avalanche series, the Oilers have two of the best. They have the best player in the world and like one of the other best players in the world, McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, so they can just create goals. It's just about playing defense and getting good goaltending, which, I don't know, I saw a goal that Stuart Skinner allowed last game, not game 3, but game 2 where Edmonton managed to win that game, and it seemed like that was kind of a weak goal to allow. So Stuart Skinner really has to step his game up for Edmonton, because they can't really just rely on McDavid, Draisaitl to score all the goals. Hyman even scoring a lot of goals. Yeah, that's crazy. Zach Hyman is doing his thing. Ex-Maple Leaf, by the way, if you weren't aware. So I want to see that series go game 7. 2 Canadian teams. I want to see that series go game 7. And I'd rather Edmonton win than Vancouver. So tonight, the Rangers are trying to close the series out against the Hurricanes, and the Avalanche will try to tie the series against the Stars. We'll see how those games go. Should be 2 exciting games. And the commentators for the Rangers Hurricanes, like every single time they get into the zone, he starts screaming out of excitement. It really makes the game more exciting to listen to this guy. I don't know his name, but he's an exciting commentator, exciting play-by-play guy. So in the NBA, I feel like the only series that's not exciting is the Cavaliers and the Celtics. Like, that's like a kind of a boring series, even though the Celtics are one like the best team, had the best record at least in the NBA this season. Like, they're not fun to watch, and the Cavs really aren't fun to watch either. The games really haven't been close either. It's either been Boston wins by blowout or the Cavs one win was by a blowout. But that blowout win by the Cavaliers makes me think that they can maybe have a chance to win another game, because Miami, when they won their one game against Boston, like I said, they had to score 23 3-pointers, and it just seems like when the Cavs won their game, it was just a clean blowout win, because in Miami's win against the Celtics, 23 3-pointers, but that game was still close. The Cavs, they won against the Celtics via blowout. So even though they got blown out, in game 3, we'll see what happens in the next game. Try to tie it up maybe, because they're gonna be at home, and Donovan Mitchell is a great player. He's been leading the team for the Cavaliers. So yesterday, the Pacers blew out the Knicks, and when I say blew out, I say they blew them out. After the first quarter, it was already a blowout. I didn't watch the game from the start, but when I checked the score in the first quarter, it was 34-11 for the Pacers. So, domination, pure domination. And they didn't even allow Knicks to cut it to 20 points or 15 points. It was just pure domination from start to finish. So they managed to tie that series up at 2, and the next game is going to be back at Madison Square Garden, and the Knicks have to win. Of course, I want the Knicks to win that series, but it seems like are they running out of steam? Is Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, etc., are they getting tired? Because throughout the playoffs, the Knicks, they really haven't used their bench. They don't really have a bench. OG is hurt. Not sure if he's coming back. And the Pacers bench has been great. Pacers bench has been very good. And even though, just like the points add up the same, like the starters can still score as many points as the bench can, and it can be a close game, but it's just the bench, they're more refreshed. The starters can relax, come back, and be refreshed, while Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, Hartenstein, they're on the floor for the entire game, getting tired. And it seems like maybe, just maybe, the Knicks are getting burnt out. But the Pacers are a good team. They're a good team, so we'll see what happens. The Knicks are going to be at the Garden next game, so hopefully they can manage to go up 3-2 and win that game. In the Western Conference, the Mavericks have won 2 straight against OKC Thunder and are up 2-1. Luka and Kyrie are playing like they're the best players in the series, like I said they are. And even though OKC had a better record, Luka is still, like I said, the best player. Kyrie is used to being, I wouldn't say Kyrie is like a sidekick, but he's used to being just the guy you can rely on. Like LeBron relied on Kyrie Irving, and now sometimes Kyrie Irving is dominating the game for the Mavericks, and sometimes Luka is dominating the game for the Mavericks. But it's better when Luka is leading the team in points and then Kyrie is like second, because sometimes it's like Kyrie is if he's leading the team, it means that Doncic isn't having a good game, and they can't win like that. So they need Doncic to have a great game, and they need Kyrie Irving to have a great game. But they won 2 straight after losing the first game, and they're up 2-1. And it didn't look like the Nuggets would have any sort of life after losing back-to-back games at home, getting blown out at home by Minnesota, but they managed to win 2 straight. They managed to win 2 straight games on the road in Minnesota, and now the series is tied at 2. And I gotta say, it's pretty impressive. They're the champs. Nikola Jokic is the best player, MVP 3 times in 4 years, but to come back like this and tie the series up in Minnesota, that's quite impressive. And I shouldn't be surprised, because that's what champions do. They just find ways to win. Good coaching, good core, and the best players in the world are playing still, even though you got Anthony Edwards on one side, you got Towns, you got Gobert, you got Naz Reid playing great. It's just it's great that the Nuggets found a way to tie that series up, because everyone was writing off the Nuggets. The Wolves swept the Suns, and after winning those first 2 games against Denver on the road, it's like, wow, like they're just gonna keep on rolling. They're gonna sweep the Nuggets. Stephen A is like, oh, the Nuggets gotta be worried. The Nuggets gotta be worried. Yelling, being passionate about sports as usual, but giving his hot takes, and the Nuggets came back and tied the series 2-2. So that's gonna be another great series to watch. Hopefully the games can be on a bit earlier so I can watch them, but it's okay. Anyways, tonight the Cavaliers are facing the Celtics, and OKC is facing Dallas. Let's see how those 2 games go. So over the weekend, the Blue Jays had a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins. Minnesota, similar to the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Twins are doing quite well. They won a lot of games. They're getting good offense, good pitching, and of course they came to Toronto and almost swept them. But the Jays managed to win 1 game, but that was just by some sort of miracle comeback. They They scored 10 runs in the game. They were down 6-1, and they managed to come back and win that game 10-8. So I was like, what? Because I was watching the game, and I kind of dozed off, especially because they were down 6-1. I woke up, the game was still on, but they were up 10-8, and I was like, damn, like they came back. I was not. That was the last thing I was expecting to see. So the good news for the Blue Jays is that Vlad's been getting a lot of hits, mostly singles, long singles, weak hit singles, and it's not like those hits are either leading to RBI. He got a few RBIs in that 10-8 comeback win, but besides that, it's just been no one's on base for him when he gets the hits. David Schneider has been great recently. Danny Jansen has been great recently. Even Bo got a few hits in that series, but just singles. He got a home run too. He did hit a home run. Bo Bichette did hit a home run during the series, which I believe that was the series that was on Sunday yesterday, and they still lost that game. In that series, Kikuchi pitched amazing. Didn't get any run support. Lost. Gosman, the first inning was rough because there was an error, David Schneider error, allowed 2 runs to score. But then he still allowed more runs after that. They went down 6-1 in the end when they came back and won. And then Alek Manoah pitched rather well yesterday until a 3-run or a 2-run home run. But that was a great start as far as Manoah standards are concerned as of late. He just couldn't get any run support as usual. So I don't know what it's gonna take. The Leafs fired their coach, and it should have been even Shanahan getting fired too, maybe. And the Jays are still in denial. They're just gonna keep Schneider. They're just gonna keep losing, keep playing mediocre baseball, and it's just disappointing the fans. The next series is against the Baltimore Orioles. Starts tonight, and it's gonna be Corbin Burnes versus Jose Berrios. Both great pitchers. Both pitchers gonna be getting Cy Young votes end of the season most likely, and so it could be a pitchers duel. And in a pitchers duel, it always favors whoever's facing the Blue Jays. And Baltimore is a great hitting team, so we'll see what happens. Maybe the Jays can win one game, but they might get swept. If they get swept, hopefully that'll lead to some major changes at the coaching position. So we'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it on Thursday. So the men and women playing tennis in Rome, getting ready for Roland Garros in Paris, May 25th. The clay court season is well underway. It's going to be almost grass time after Roland Garros starts. And it's getting clearer. So the women are down to the round of 16, looking to get to the quarterfinals. And the men are down to the round of 32, looking to get to the round of 16. So let's see how it's going. So far, the quarterfinals for the women, Coco Gauff just beat Badosa just a few minutes ago. She won that match, and her quarterfinal matchup is going to be tomorrow against Zheng, the 7th-ranked woman from China, who's been on a great run as of late. She was maybe last year top 20s, then in the teens, then in the top 10. She had a great run and is continuing to be consistent. Coco Gauff, she really hasn't had a good year, I would say, by her standards. So this is probably the furthest she's made it in recent, this season in a Masters 1000. So she's gonna be facing Zheng, and hopefully she can win that for some good motivation going into Roland Garros. Swiatek also just won her match, and she's going to be playing her quarterfinal against another American, Madison Keys. That should be a good matchup. Also, currently, who's playing is Ostapenko. She's tied in her match 1-1. It's in the third set right now. And Danielle Collins, the American, is going to be playing later on. And those are the only two matchups left to be decided. Ostapenko, number 9, and Danielle Collins, number 13. On the men's side, the players who are already in the round of 16, just, the big names. Taylor Fritz, number 11 American, is going to be facing number 8 Dimitrov. Tsitsipas is back to winning quite well. He's going to be facing number 9 Dimonara, who just beat Felix Auger-Aliassime, the Canadian. Tommy Paul is in the round of 16. And later on today, Holger Rune is going to be playing number 10. Holger Rune is going to be playing number 17 from Argentina, Baez. Medvedev is going to be playing later on too at 1 o'clock on center court. And currently, Nicholas Jarry is playing. So, I did pick Medvedev to win for the men's side. For the women's side, I don't think I picked Swiatek because it's hard to go back to back. So I think I might have picked Sabalenka to win that. Rybakina, maybe I picked, but Rybakina had to withdraw. Disappointing to see that. But Sabalenka is today facing Elena Svitolina, and I'm kind of a fan of Svitolina. She's married to Gael Monfils, the Frenchman, the big showman from France, Gael Monfils. So I don't mind Svitolina. I don't mind Sabalenka either, but it'd be nice to see Svitolina manage to win the upset. And the other round of 16 matchup to get to the quarterfinals for the women is going to be number 5 Sakkari versus Azarenka. Azarenka played a good match, a good Mother's Day match, and everyone is talking about the mothers on tour, Svitolina, Azarenka, both mothers. So good for her. I don't mind whoever wins that between Sakkari and Azarenka. So hopefully that's just a good matchup. Try to post this video and then watch that matchup. It's going to start at 1 o'clock, and Svitolina Sabalenka starts at 2:30. All right. I don't know how many of you really enjoy listening to tennis talk. I mean, tennis, similar to football, I'm very glad that I started paying attention to, because tennis is a great sport. So it's a very difficult sport to play. You got to be really in shape. You got to be in tip-top form. Be able to, tip-top form as in your body and your mind, because it's just, some things can just get in your head. The crowd can get in your head, and it's just grueling. The Grand Slam tournaments can last for hours and hours and hours on end, and you're just on the court in the heat for hours. So it takes a lot of will to play tennis. I just play tennis with my friends in the local courts, and it's just fun. So on Thursday's episode, we'll see how the Premier League matches went. We're going to see how Chelsea's match went against Brighton. We're going to see if Man City managed to beat Tottenham. We're going to see the current state of the NHL and the NBA playoffs. We're going to see how the Blue Jays did against Baltimore. We'll give another update of the Rome Open. By then, it should be the quarterfinals, semifinals for men and women. And we're going to preview the Italian Grand Prix. Like I said, Formula 1 is going to be in Imola this weekend, and that's going to be a great race. It's been rather rainy in Toronto. Hopefully tomorrow is going to be some good weather. I'll be back at the gym. I had I went to the driving range on Friday. Didn't really have my best day. I was doing some good drives, but my 5 iron game was very inconsistent. Like I was getting frustrated out there. It wasn't that good. I was trying to use a 3-wood, and that wasn't that good either. But the driver I was getting some good hits with. My softball game, we won again. We're 2-0 this season, and finally I got some good hits. Like I'm not gonna go into describing all those hits I got, but I got a good amount of RBI, bases loaded, cleared them, triples. Great. It's just softball, but out of all the games I played in softball from last summer to the first game today, or last 2 weeks ago to last week's game on Thursday, I never got such good hits, and I was feeling good about myself. I was feeling pretty good. So that was another episode of Sports Paradise. As usual, thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good week up to Thursday, and see you then.